I took advantage of the heiress of the jean circle, taking her shower to sneak quietly under her sheets, but I didn't expect her to. I think it was an intrusion by some brainless loser who came with the sole intention of defiling her. As a result, she straight up ordered her bodyguards to throw me out, along with the duvet. Just as I was about to poke my head out to explain, the gorillas were already pulling violently on the blanket. I couldn't even fight back. Throw him out and hurry up. I caught myself on the bed to stand back up. Miss Third, do you really want to throw me out on the street? You don't want me anymore. But Meng Yao finally realized it was me. Her eyes widened in total shock. She had almost thrown out the love of her life. She took a deep breath and approached under my reproachful gaze. She threw herself into my arms, pressing her little face firmly against my chest. Then she ordered the others, everyone get out. The butler and the bodyguards cleared out in a hurry. Hey, you really wanted to have me thrown out earlier, didn't you? Yes, I heard everything. But Yao stroked my waist, her cheeks slightly flushed. I didn't know it was you in the bed. I see Yao Yao is just tired of me. No need to chase me away, I'll leave on my own. But Yao immediately tightened her grip around my waist. Who told you I didn't want you anymore? Deep down, I knew very well. She wants to worship me like a god so badly. So how could she ever bring herself to reject me? My darling, I asked for your forgiveness, okay? Yes, but what were you doing in my room? I knew exactly what was running through Meng Yao's head. After all, I used to hate her so much. I always made it a point to bypass her room. No wonder she was so adamant earlier, convinced that the man in her bed absolutely could not be me. I guess it's because this place is filled with Yao's scent. Of course, there's a much more important reason. It's because I really wanted to get her into my bed. But Yao just stood there staring at me, intensely in the eyes. Hey, can I sleep with you? She was stunned for a second, before managing to utter with difficulty, go back to sleep in your own room. She was probably thinking that if I could just come and slide into her bed whenever I pleased, she would completely lose face. Yeah, but even though she said that, she absolutely didn't have the slightest intention of kicking me out. On the contrary, she walked toward the door, double lock it. With my head resting on my hand, I watched her stealthily. I did my best to pull a pitiful pout. But I'll have nightmares if I sleep all alone. Meng Yao finally gave up and shot me a resigned look. She pulled a pillow out of the closet and tossed it onto the bed. I let out a sigh of relief internally. In my past life, I didn't understand this possessive love. I had foolishly trusted a bitch and a scumbag of a brother. And it was only after my death that I realized my mistake. Meng, the third miss, the one who cherished me more than anything, was kneeling before my grave, screaming her pain, tearing her lungs out. Thank God I was granted a second chance. Now, the only thing I want is to make tons of babies with the woman standing right in front of me. I hurried to lie down, and as soon as Meng Yao joined me in bed, I pulled her tightly against me. I immediately felt that her body had suddenly stiffened. She clearly couldn't believe it. She must be thinking, he's holding me in his arms of his own free will. And this time, it isn't to beg for mercy for another woman, nor to threaten to leave me. I could feel her gaze fixed on me as my consciousness gradually turned to mush, and my breathing slowed down. I instinctively tightened my grip around her. Meng Yao's small hands were still clutching firmly onto the edge of my clothes. She watched me for a long moment. Shortly after, my body suddenly began to shake. I dreamed of my tragic death again. Dreamed of that woman, sitting in her wheelchair. My forehead was covered in cold sweat. Her eyes were filled with tenderness and pain. She reached out and whispered, "Ah Chin, don't be afraid." Then her kiss gently landed on my lips. I felt weirdly reassured and fell back asleep. The next morning, Meng Yao was still sleeping. I got up and started ordering the servants to take all the stuff from my room to move it into the third Mrs. room. Since we have to prove we're a real couple, we might as well sleep together, right? No way we're sleeping in separate rooms. Hearing this, the butler looked super awkward. I knew. He was afraid I'd hurt their third miss. Even with separate rooms, young Master A. Chen often managed to piss her off enough to send her to the hospital. If they live together, it's bound to end badly. Not to mention that the third Mrs. health is fragile. She suffers from severe bipolar disorder. And when she has an episode, the bodyguards often end up bloody or on the verge of death. The desperate butler ran to ask Meng Yao for permission. The young woman had barely just woken up, so she didn't really get what was happening yet. But when she heard it was my idea to move in, she softly said yes. If Chen wants to move in, help him and make sure he doesn't hurt his hands. Just at the thought of Chen living with her, Meng Yao could hardly hide her excitement. Like a predator, finally seeing its prey bite the bait in her eyes, I was walking straight into the wolf's den. The butler wanted to step in to talk her out of it, but the young woman declared with absolute firmness, "I'll handle Chen." As for me, I stayed home alone, thinking about my next move. It was exactly at that moment that I got a call from the Lu family. I furrowed my brows. Father Lu's voice on the other end was full of impatience without a single ounce of affection for an adopted son like me. "Lu Ah-chen, get Yibei out of there right now. My poor Yibei. I don't even know what kind of state he's in. Anyway, you Lu A-chen are nothing but a fucking jinx. The beloved son he's talking about is Lu Yibei. He's the grand heir to the Lu family throne, while I'm just the Lu family's adopted son. Well, adopted son is a stretch in reality. I'm treated worse than a common servant. Just a few months ago, when their business went under, they even tried to sell me to an 80-year-old sugar mommy. All of that just to line their pockets. Yeah, it was Meng Yao who saved me and brought me to the hillside villa. They want me to save Lu Yibei. Sure, yeah, but too bad. The third miss doesn't listen to me at all. What am I supposed to do about it, huh? In my past life, it was this exact same Lu Yibei who assassinated me by causing a car crash. And today, he expects me to save him? I only dream of one thing, and that's for him to drop dead right now. On the other end of the line, his mother's hysterical screaming rang out. I don't care. Even if you have to get on your knees and kiss Meng Yao's feet, you absolutely must get. Yibei out of there. Lu Chen, don't forget one thing. It's your fault that Yibei can't come home. How could I ever forget? It was that scumbag Lu Yibei who ruined me first, before going after Meng Yao. That trash even pretended to help me escape. Also, we would get caught. But Meng Yao flew into a mad rage. She had Lu Yibei and that bitch Jiang captured to make them pay a heavy price. Lu Chen quickly find a way to get Yibei back home. Do you hear me? Hearing that tone, still as haughty and arrogant as ever, I let out a scoff. Since he dug his own grave, then no one will be able to save him. Lu Chen, what are you implying by that? Do you really have the heart to just watch Yibei suffer like this? You heartless piece of trash. I hung up on them immediately. With a little smirk on my face, I will never let Lu Yibei get away with it. I will make the entire Lu family pay in blood. What? That guy Lu Chen wants to share your room. No. Third sister, you absolutely must not believe that guy's BS. If he's saying this, it's 100% a trap to set you up. Meng Yao's gaze darkened more and more. Third sister, stop lying to yourself. You know very well how many tricks Lu Chen has up his sleeve. But you're not a fool, right? Gunian knew perfectly well that 3 months ago, Lu Chen had tried to escape through the window before getting caught. He had even injured Yao's arm with a knife. And barely a month ago, Lu Chen had caught a mouse just to release it in Yao's room. During the few months this man lived here, Meng Yao always forgave him for everything. No matter what harm the MC did to her, she never allowed anyone to touch a single hair on his head. Even the last time, when he put her in such a rage that she had an episode, her first thought was still to protect this man. Gunian just couldn't understand. A guy like Lu Chen, how could he deserve mistreating him so well? Third sister, he's just pulling the same stunt again. He's trying to play you with his charm. If you trust him, I guarantee he'll dump you like an old sock, but Meng Yao just sat there in silence. Shut up. Gunian seemed to want to add something, but Meng Yao shot him a death glare. If you dare utter a single word more, you're getting shipped off to work as a doctor in Africa. I don't care about Chen's intentions. As long as he's willing to come close to me, I'm ready to give him the entire world. Back at the Bishan villa, I sat all alone in the courtyard. My mind was a complete mess. I waited all day, without catching a glimpse of Yao Yao. I couldn't help but ask Butler, Chang Xiao, when exactly is Miss coming home? Miss will return, as soon as she finishes her work. Faced with this vague answer, I glanced at the bodyguards outside the villa, a handful of men that would never be enough to hold me back. If I wanted to, I could leave at any moment. Back in my previous life, I didn't dare run away, out of fear that Meng Yao would go after the Lu family after I left. But to be honest, with my combat level, all 10 of these bodyguards combined wouldn't stand a chance against me. I stared at the main gate for a few seconds. A Bentley slowly pulled up, that gorgeous silhouette that I knew so well. So clearly she got out of the car. A huge smile immediately lit up my face and I rushed toward her. You're home? Yes. Without even giving Meng Yao time to react, I wrapped my arms around her waist confidently. I stole a quick glance at her face and noticed that her cheeks were softly blushing. Chen held me in his arms and of his own free will. On top of that, this suddenly reminded her of what had happened that night. That night when Meng Yu had entered the room, I was stuck in a nightmare. In my dream, it was a stormy day, with pouring rain and blinding lightning. In a freezing cemetery, Meng Yao was kneeling crying in pain before my grave. In my dream, I was overcome by immense terror. I didn't know it, but Yao was standing right by the bed staring at me. Her icy gaze piercing through my fingers were shaking. A bitter smile appeared on my lips. I woke up with a start catching my breath. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw Meng Yao. Without even thinking, I threw myself into her arms. I clung to her with all my strength, like a lifeline. Meng Yao's body suddenly froze. Then she returned my embrace with infinite gentleness. Did you have a nightmare? A super terrifying nightmare. Yama, don't abandon me. Don't be afraid, Chen. Even if I have to risk everything, I will protect you no matter what. I will never leave you. Meng Yao gently patted my back to soothe me. Then she tucked my blanket in tight. I looked at her with a slightly pitiful expression on purpose. I'm too scared to sleep all alone. In that case, I'll have a psychiatrist come see you tomorrow. At that, I was left completely speechless. Is it really that hard to just let me sleep? In your arms, what a blockhead. Seeing my slightly annoyed look, Meng Yao still didn't understand what she had said wrong. She just suggested hesitantly, then I'll tell you a story. I'll stay with you for a bit, okay? I saw her pull a book from the shelf. At first, everything seemed pretty normal. They were old classic tales. But I don't know at what exact moment the tone of the story completely changed. Once upon a time, there was a naive and good scholar who knew nothing about the cruelty of the outside world. By ignoring his wife's warnings, he ultimately had both his legs stolen by a fox spirit. I was losing my mind. Seriously, what collection is this even from? I finally figured it out. This guy Meng Yao did it on purpose. He just wanted to nip my desires to escape in the bud. He wanted to make me understand, not to try and leave. It's best not to think about it under any circumstances ever. If I disobey, they'll break my legs, got it. I'm done listening, I want to sleep. If I keep listening to this kind of story, I'm really going to end up traumatized. I pulled up the blanket with a sudden jerk and hid my head underneath. If I keep listening to this kind of story, I'm really going to end up traumatized. The next day, I was bored to death in the living room, completely lost in my thoughts, when suddenly a voice rang out, "Big brother, I finally found you." I looked up. Lu Yibei burst into the villa and ran straight toward me. Watching him charge in my direction, my gaze turned icy in a fraction of a second. We finally meet again. Lu Yibei suddenly grabbed my hand and started whining about his pathetic fate. The other time, I helped you escape, and in the end, I got caught by the third Mrs. Men. They threw me in the dungeon. That Meng Yao is a literal demon. Not only did she lock me up, but she sent people to beat up Sister Jiang Jiang. She's a cold-blooded snake. She's capable of the worst atrocities, listening to Lu Yibei, buzzing in my ear without stopping. I glared at him from the corner of my eye. Lu Yibei thought that dark glare was aimed with hatred toward Meng Yao, so he kept trying to brainwash me. With even more eagerness, "Big brother, you don't realize Jiang Jiang is being tortured so badly that she doesn't even look human anymore. That Meng Yao is ruthless. Big brother, I'm begging you. You absolutely must find a way to save her." I furrowed my brows, my face not betraying the slightest ounce of worry or panic. "How come she isn't dead yet?" Lu Yibei froze on the spot. "Big brother, what are you even saying? We're talking about Jiang Jiang. How can you just stand there doing nothing? Watching her rot in that dungeon," I stared at him thoughtfully. "Indeed, I can't. I can't let that bitch get off so easily. Keeping her locked up isn't enough." At that exact moment, right behind the door, Gu Nian tightly gripped Meng Yao's arm. "Third miss, look at that." Lu A Chen is finally showing his true colors. From where they were standing, they had an unobstructed view of what was happening in the living room. He's the one who secretly let Lu Yibei out of the dungeon to sneak him into the villa. "I'm going to go expose this Lu A Chen. I told you he was making a fool of you this whole time. He was just putting on an act, all of it. It was just so you would let that slut get away." The face of Gunin beamed with pride, as if she had just foiled the plot of the century. She congratulated herself internally for bringing the third miss along with her this time. She absolutely had to open her eyes about this. Lu A Chen. Meanwhile, Meng Yao just stood there, but the icy aura radiating from her was becoming more and more oppressive. "Did A Chen really lie to me? If I break your legs, you'll stay by my side forever, right?" I hadn't yet sensed the murderous intent floating in the air. In my past life, it was by threatening to commit suicide that I had forced the hand of Meng Yao. That was the only way she had agreed to release Lu Yibei and Jiang Jiang. But in this life, I hadn't begged for her mercy at all, and yet Yao Yao had still let Lu Yibei in. Anyway, whatever. Since he's throwing himself into the wolf's den on his own, I won't show any mercy to this piece of trash and his bitch. Big brother let me move into the villa. When the third miss falls in love with me, she'll eventually let you go, as far away from her as possible. I let out a calmly scornful laugh. Right, what a model brother you are. Always ready to sacrifice himself for me. Lu Yibei put on the look of a martyr ready to give his life. "So that you can be happy, big brother. Suffering a little is nothing at all to me. As long as you can run far away from here with Jiang Jiang, I'm ready to stay and endure all that torture in your place." In the first floor hallway, Meng Yao's gaze became even more glacial. "So that's it, A Chen? You plan to use another man to seduce me, huh?" She let out a sarcastic laugh, muttering on a loop, "I should have known from the start that A Chen never had the slightest affection for someone like me." Seeing that I remained silent, Lu Yibei suddenly took on a commanding tone. "When the third miss gets back, you'll go on a hunger strike. Force her to let me move in here officially." I scoffed with contempt. "A hunger strike? This little game is truly on a pathetic level. So basic. What if I just killed you with my own hands? Plain and simple. That way your corpse can stay here for eternity." Before Lu Yibei even had time to react, I abruptly reached out to strangle him with all my strength, lifting him straight off the ground. His legs were flailing in the air and he was fighting like crazy. But his weak strength in my eyes was as ridiculous as an ant's. Around us, the servants were all petrified by the scene, their mouths wide open, but not a single one dared to step forward to stop me. In the second floor hallway, Gunini was biting her nails. Why are these two men suddenly fighting amongst themselves? Weren't they supposed to escape together? What gave her the most cold? What was the murderous intent in my eyes? I wasn't joking at all. As for Meng, Yaoshi remained completely calm, an amused smile even tugging at the corner of her lips. Just when Lu Yibei was on the verge of suffocating, I suddenly let go. He collapsed on the floor like a puddle of mud, coughing, his lungs out, but it was far from over. I randomly picked up a pair of big, sharp shears used for trimming cedars. The third. Miss hates men who run around. How do you plan to seduce her in this state? Let me help you out personally instead. Barely had these words been spoken, I tightened my grip on the shears. A sharp pain instantly pierced Lu Yibei's leg. His eyes widened in terror, backing away while screaming bloody murder. No, don't come near me. Shears in hand, I advanced step by step. Didn't you want to stay by the third Miss's side? Then why are you running away? In my previous life, Lu Yibei had started a fire to kill me. Meng Yao ended up crippled trying to save me, condemning her to spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. Just thinking about her broken legs, my heart twisted in pain as if pierced by a blade. So, in this life, I'm the one who's going to break Lu Yibei's first. I will avenge my Yao Yao with my own hands. Inside the villa, the servants were all scared to death, forced to watch helplessly as Lu Yibei's leg turned into a bloody mush. While the room was plunged into deadly terror, Meng Yao walked in, her face icy. Achen, be good. Put down those shears first. Be careful not to hurt yourself. Watching the scene, the young woman's dark eyes were filled with the hatred. Lu Yibei took the chance to play the victim. Big brother, it's just because I couldn't help you escape the last time. Why are you so furious with me? He looked at Meng Yao. Third miss. My brother just wants to see sister Yangjiang too badly. I'm begging you, don't blame him. He just lost his mind. For a moment before attacking me, I stared at him with a freezing gaze. Even though his thigh was gushing blood, Lu Yibei stubbornly refused to leave. After all, this was his only chance to wiggle his way into the villa and seduce Meng Yao. He clutched his wound. Third miss, it hurt so much. Seeing his disgusting Act 1 almost threw up my dinner from last night. Shut your damn mouth. Stop trying to seduce my third miss, you shameless piece of trash. Hearing my words, Meng Yao's body suddenly flinched. My third miss? Then her teary eyes filled with disbelief. Is he finally admitting from his own mouth that I'm his? When my gaze landed on Meng Yao, my heart suddenly skipped a beat. Shit. I just showed myself being so violent and cruel. Did I completely ruin my image in front of her? I turned around anxiously, pouting my lips with worry. Yama, I swear, what happened earlier really wasn't on purpose. The look in Meng Yao's eyes was literally overflowing with love and tenderness. Right? So, Chen, tell me, why did you do all that? Exactly. Well, it's because that guy absolutely insisted on moving into this villa and deliberately tried to turn you against me. Yeah. If there's one thing I hate, it's when people covet what's mine. You are mine, and no one has the right to steal you. Like a kid protecting his favorite toy. I squeezed Meng Yao with all my strength, my gaze filled with an unhealthy level of possessiveness. Meng Yao nodded solemnly, with unprecedented conviction in her voice. It's true. I'm yours for the rest of my life. I was left completely speechless. I felt like Meng Yao was completely under my spell. She was a total goner for me. She didn't even spare a glance at the massacre on the floor and pulled me straight upstairs. Third miss. What do we do with this one on the floor? Guninin took a look at his injuries. If he doesn't get treated, he might actually kick the bucket. With his worried look, you could clearly see he was afraid I'd get blood on my hands and that it would bring trouble to Meng Yao. Throw him out. The woman dropped this icy command before continuing on her way without a single glance back. Behind them, Gunyan was left completely speechless, but Yao stopped dead in her tracks and glared daggers at Gunyan. Since you have nothing better to do, you're going to go watch over the morgue for a month. Third sister Gunyan felt her legs go weak, completely panicking. Third sister, I'm begging you. I really don't want to go guard the morgue. Yaoma, why? Why are you being so cruel to me? Meng Yao shot back, her face totally expressionless. Because you talk too much. You disturbed my Chen. Gunyan was completely flabbergasted, standing there, unable to utter a single word. With infinite gentleness, Meng Yao meticulously wiped the blood off my hands. Her bare care gave the impression that she was handling a priceless treasure. I stared into her eyes. Yama, will you believe everything I say? I will believe it. She paused for a brief moment, looking at me with infinite tenderness. As long as it comes from you, I'll believe every single word. Hearing such a firm answer, my heart tightened with emotion. If she believed me, it wasn't because my excuses were perfect. It was simply because I was the one speaking. But Yao looked at me and resumed in her soft voice, Chen, starting today, you are free to enter and leave the mid-mountain villa whenever you want. Yes, I almost jumped with joy. Yama, you really agreed to let me go out. No, on the other hand, I have one condition. A glimmer of anxiety flashed through her gaze. It was clear that she was still afraid I would vanish into thin air. Yeah, tell me. No, as long as it gives me back my freedom, I'll accept any condition. Right. Meng Yao's tone suddenly became glacial. You are forbidden from going anywhere I can't find you. And above all, you are forbidden from seeing that bitch. I nodded my head frantically, like a big golden retriever. I swear that, from now on, I will obey you completely. Thank you. Meng Yao wrapped her arms around my waist again. Hey Chen, this is the last ounce of courage I'm holding on to. I'm begging you, please, never try to escape from me again. okay? Seeing her so vulnerable broke my heart. I gently stroked the back of her head. I won't run away anymore. I will stay by Yao Yao's side forever. I let Meng Yao rest her head on my shoulder to seek some comfort. HN be very good. Today, in the future, I will do everything I can to give you the best things in the world, as long as you stay with me. She was begging me in a low voice. So, it wasn't the first time she asked me to be good. Initially, I only thought about one thing. How to take down that little bitch. But remembering Meng Yao's order, which strictly forbade me from going to see that woman, I had no other choice but to drop it. For now, even if I spare that bitch for the moment, my dear little brother, I'm definitely not going to let him get away with it. It was at that moment that my so-called father called me. Lu Chen, get your ass over to the hospital right now. Go to the hospital for what? Is someone ready to collect my corpse or something? On the other end of the line, Lu Zi yelled in anger. Is that the tone you dare use with your father? I'm your real father, damn it. Take a look at the state you put Yi Bei in. I order you to show up here this instant and get on your knees to apologize. I couldn't help but scoff coldly. He really thinks I'm the old me. That wimp he could manipulate at will. But hey, since he's handing me the opportunity, this is the perfect chance to personally handle these assholes. Since Yi Bei is so badly injured, as his big brother, the least I can do is go give him a nice gift. As long as he hasn't become a vegetable yet, I don't mind sending him to hell with my own hands. After hanging up, I looked at Meng Yao and told her that I planned to drop by the hospital. Yeah, she immediately stared at me looking tense. Why go to a place like that all of a sudden? Are you feeling sick? Are you hurt? Shook my head to show her everything was fine. It's just that Lu Jia is over there and he demands that I come. Yeah. Her face immediately darkened. After all, she knows perfectly well that all these years, the Lu family never treated me like a human being. But Yao warned me in an icy tone. That kind of trash doesn't deserve you wasting your time to go there. I gently pinched her cheek, telling her firmly that I understood, and that in the future, I would never let myself be used by those people again. If I took the initiative to go to the hospital, this time, it's obviously to see this bunch of clowns with my own eyes. So seeing that I was determined, Meng Yao didn't push it. She just grabbed my hand, looking worried, and said she'd come with me. Deep down, she was still afraid I'd get played or mistreated. To her, the members of the Lu family are like wild beasts, ready to eat me alive. She was terrified of letting me enter the wolf's den, but very soon, I will prove to her through actions that all her fears are completely unnecessary. Today's me is no longer the type to just take it. As our imposing black Bentley passed by a charming little flower shop, I signaled the driver to stop, and I got out alone. As soon as the shop owner saw me walk in, she rushed over to me with a big smile. Hello, handsome. Who are these for? Would you like some recommendations? I replied with indifference. It's not a gift. I'm going to the hospital to visit an absolutely detestable patient. Okay, in that case, take some lilies, okay? It's the perfect bouquet for a hospital visit, she advised the shop owner, pointing joyfully with her finger at a bunch of pristine white lilies. I didn't even spare a single glance at those lilies. I carefully searched the entire shop, only to finally find, in a small dark corner, exactly the kind of flowers I wanted. I randomly grabbed a large bouquet of white chrysanthemums in full bloom and waved it right under Meng Yao's nose. Yao Wao, look. What do you think of the flowers I chose for Yi Bei? The shop owner was left frozen on the spot, before warning me, completely panicking, sir, this kind of flower is usually given to the dead. It's really a very bad moment to give this to a living person. A snarky smile appeared on my lips. That's exactly what I'm looking for. The more bad luck it brings, the better it fits that piece of trash. The shop owner was completely lost by my crazy logic. While she was busy wrapping the chrysanthemums, she glanced at the distinguished woman next to me, thinking to herself that this man was certainly very handsome, but his logic was completely twisted. On the other hand, this girl looked so innocent without a single ounce of malice. Thinking about this, the shop owner quietly whispered to Monk, Yao Da we miss. The other flowers in our shop are also absolutely magnificent. Guys rarely receive flowers. If you gave him some, he would certainly be thrilled. The shop owner glanced at my back then, gave Meng Yao a smile full of innuendo. Meng Yao suddenly turned her head, dead serious, and asked her in a solemn tone, in your eyes, do lovers absolutely have to give each other flowers? The shop owner replied jokingly, well, of course. Yeah, nowadays, what young couple doesn't give each other flowers? Without flowers, can you really talk about romance? But Meng Yao paid no attention to the shop owner's weird look. She suddenly reached out her arms to embrace me. Hey Chen, you've never given me flowers after all this time. The shop owner right next to us was completely petrified. I was also totally caught off guard by this sudden burst of tenderness, and I looked at this woman, who was otherwise so powerful, with huge interrogation marks on my face. Are you serious right now? Yeah. Finally leaving the flower shop, she looked down at the huge bouquet of roses in her hands, smiling from ear to ear. She placed the red roses on the back seat with extreme care. Seeing her treat this bouquet like a priceless treasure, it really made me laugh internally. All she was missing was burning incense to make it a real offering. I shook my head helplessly and started teasing her with a smile. It's just a simple bouquet of flowers. How can you look so happy over something like this? Meng Yao flinched, a bit embarrassed, forcing her smile to disappear. I immediately exposed her. Yao Wao, the tips of your ears are completely red. With her looking so pure and innocent, it was just way too cute. Meng Yao was left speechless for a moment. Sitting quietly in the passenger seat, I admired from the corner of my eye her profile, so delicate and perfect. It was the dream opportunity to tease her a little. My wandering hands started doing their thing. The tips of my fingers rested on the young woman's thigh, brushing against it, gently in a very calculated way. Monk. Yao's hand suddenly tightened on the steering wheel. I sighed with a fake casual air. It's true that the feeling to the touch is really not bad. Much better than what I've ever touched before. Meng Yao suddenly grabbed my hand that kept lingering on her thigh. Her tone turned icy in an instant, tinged even with an obvious hint of jealousy. Exactly, which other woman's thighs did you think of? And touch that you just can't seem to forget. I let out a sigh, looking completely lost. Yalma, don't get the wrong idea. I meant that the fabric of your dress is super nice. It's incredibly soft to the touch. Meng Yao's hand, which was holding mine, stopped dead, and she froze. Oh, no, it's nothing. I deliberately put on a curious look. If it's not the clothing, what else could I be talking about? Yao, what exactly were you thinking about just now? Meng Yao took a deep breath. I also thought you were talking about the dress. I nodded along to play the game, but my hand once again boldly rested on her thigh. Meanwhile, we had already arrived at the hospital. At that moment, Yi-bei was pitifully lying on his hospital bed, his legs completely mummified by bandages. Shangguan and Lu Ji were hovering around him to pamper him. Mom. As soon as Lu Yi-bei saw his mother, he started bawling his eyes out. Mom, it's all the fault of that good-for-nothing bastard Lu Chen. He really tried to kill me while screaming. He grabbed the glass of water on the table and smashed it violently on the floor. You have no idea. His eyes were so filled with hatred when he stared at me. It was so sinister. Shangguan rushed to comfort him, her face twisted with grief. Oh, my darling, don't get yourself into such a state. It's not worth getting upset over a guy like that. Just wait until that Lu Chen shows his face in a little bit. I'm going to force him to get down on his knees right away and kowtow, to beg for your forgiveness. Shangguan carefully pulled out a bank card to slide it into her son's hands. Yi-bei, here is 1 million I managed to get from your father. Spend it however you like. Hearing the sum of 1 million Lu, Yi-bei's face finally relaxed a bit, but that dark gleam in his eyes hadn't disappeared. His face distorted with jealousy. He complained, Mom, why is that Lu Chen so lucky? How could the third miss ever take an interest in him? She even let him move into the hillside villa. That hick Lu Chen, that redneck, absolutely does not deserve to stay by the third miss's side. That place of honor should have belonged to me. Shangguan rushed to reassure her precious son. Yi-bei, don't worry, Mom is going to force that nobody to spit out all the wealth and glory that rightfully belong to you. Guy like him has no right to enjoy all that. He's only good for being a lowly servant for our Lu family, and that's for the rest of his days. I pushed the door to the room open, unannounced, and let out a sarcastic laugh. Oh, really? Thanks then. So in the heart of Madam Lu, I've always been nothing but a mere servant. Shangguan, who was right in the middle of her temper tantrum, abruptly looked up. Seeing the icy beauty following behind me, she got the scare of her life. She lost her tongue in a fraction of a second. On her old face, a strained and extremely embarrassed smile appeared. HN, you're finally here? Come, sit down. She shot a terrified look at Meng Yao. Third miss, please. Have a seat as well. I immediately put on a deeply shocked expression. I really didn't expect that. In your heart, you always considered me as an underling. Hearing that, it hurts me so much. Terrified, Shangguan shrunk her head into her shoulders. She started stammering out excuses. Chen, you're getting the wrong idea. I've always loved you like my own. Flesh and blood. So to me, there's absolutely no difference between you and Yi-bei. Oh, is that so? Yeah, I figured as much. Madame Lu is without a doubt the most fair person in the world. Seeing that I was so naive, Shangguan secretly let out a sigh of relief, staring with a sharp gaze at the bank card on the table. I asked with fake curiosity, since you consider me as your own son, then why did Yi-bei get 1 million and I got nothing at all? Looking at them with teary eyes, could it be that all this affection you've been talking to me about, nonstop for years, is nothing but a pack of lies to fool me? At these words, a flash of contempt crossed Shangguan's eyes. Rubbing her hands with an embarrassed air, Chen, how could Mom ever lie to you? This card. Mom will hand it to you personally in a few days. All right. I couldn't help but scoff internally. It really looks like they are determined not to give it to me. Even if you don't treat me like your biological son, it's fine. I'm used to it anyway. I lowered my head, looking dejected. Behind me, Meng Yao's aura was becoming more and more glacial. Her gaze landing on Shangguan was terrifyingly cold. Seeing this, Yi-bei hurriedly tightened his fingers around the bank card. Yi-bei let go of it Let go of it. The piercing gaze of Meng Yao gave Shangguan goosebumps. Forcing herself, she snatched the card from Lu Yibei's hands and held it out to me. Chen Mom really isn't lying to you. It's just that Yibei is so severely injured that I wanted him to use it first. But since you want it right away, then Mom is giving it to you. But I was seriously completely sick of her little act. Every time we're in front of outsiders, she always managed to put on this hypocritical front of a loving and devoted mother. But as soon as we got back to the Lu family estate, once the doors were closed, she wouldn't even consider me as a human being. In my own right, I simply reached out my hand and grabbed that thin bank card without the slightest expression. It was truly pathetic. She was saying out loud that it was for me, but her fingers were gripping the edge of the card so tightly that she refused to let go. With her gaze, Shangguan could have practically burned a hole through this damn card. I thank you then for your great generosity, Madame Lu. And right before her eyes, I slipped the card into my pocket. This 1 million was going to hurt the wallet of the Lu family for a good long while. This was exactly what I wanted to see on Shangguan and Lu Yibei, that constipated face as if they had just swallowed a fly without being able to spit it out. And as expected, lying on his hospital bed, Lu Yibei was trembling with rage, his fingers crushing the edge of his sheets. With casual indifference, he grabbed his medical file lying nearby. It's a real shame he made it to the ER so fast that kept him from ending up a cripple for the rest of his days. Reading the words, minor injuries on the report, a massive wave of disappointment washed over me. He got off way too easy. Oh dear. Are the injuries of our poor Yibei really that severe? Is he going to have to stay bedridden for the rest of his life? I stepped closer. I approached, feigning absolute worry. The face of Lu Yibei turned crimson red. Never would he have imagined that I, the main one responsible for his state, would have the audacity to come flex and ask him how he was doing. It was clearly rubbing salt in the wound. My absolute goal was to make him die of rage. At this exact moment, he only thought of one thing. As soon as Meng Yao turns her back, I'll use every possible means to make this good for nothing Lu Chen beg for death without being able to get it. Look, Yibei, your big brother went to several places on purpose to choose these flowers for you. You better cherish them. When Lu Yibei clearly distinguished this bright bouquet of white chrysanthemums, his face suddenly went white as a sheet. As for me, I scoffed internally. If they dared treat me like that in the past, why wouldn't I dare do it today? Yes, you dare offer me this kind of flower? Lu Yibei widened his furious eyes, but since Meng Yao was there, he didn't even dare open his mouth. Meng Yao stepped closer, fixing an assured gaze on Lu Yibei. The coldness in her voice gave him cold sweats. The flowers that Chen bought with his own hands, what, you don't like them? Yet it's a delicate attention he chose specially for you, no. By what right do you not like them? Shangguan's face turned pale and she rushed to intervene. No, not at all, no. No, Yibei loves them immensely. Really, thank you, Chen. To myself, I found the situation bitingly ironic. Lu Yibei was trembling with anger, but he could only spit out a few words through his teeth. Then, thanks for the delicate attention, big brother. I stared coldly at these two actors in front of me, without the slightest ounce of warmth in my gaze. This little bit of karma is just the beginning. Thinking back to my past life disfigured by flames, the victim of a car accident ending up dragging down with me the woman who loved me to death, this blood debt, I will never forget it. My face darkened, becoming almost ferocious. Meng Yao seemed to catch my reaction with sharpness. Sensing that something was wrong, she took a step and grabbed my arm with a gesture both gentle and firm. The softness of the person by my side instantly swept away the darkness in my heart. I gently snapped back to reality, looking at Meng Yao, her gaze loaded with worry. I forced a smile and whispered to her that everything was fine. Yao Wao, I'd like to stay alone for a moment here. Okay, I have a personal matter to settle. Wait for me outside for now, okay? These old grudges of the Lu family, Chen has to handle them himself for it to be done properly. Okay, she stood up on her tippets and whispered in my ear, don't let them push you around. Not even a little bit. Understood. I nodded my head. The moment the silhouette of Meng Yao disappeared through the door, and only the three of us remained in the room, Shangguan finally dropped her hypocritical mask. Lu Chen, you piece of trash. Give that bank card back to Yibei right now. Yes, it's his. A nobody like you doesn't deserve this money, no? Mom, please don't be mad. My brother surely didn't mean to take it from me on purpose. Dad, big brother, don't take it badly. When Dad's done handling his big business right now, he'll surely give you a little pocket money too. He told me in a tone of fake generosity. I couldn't help but burst out laughing on the spot. The acting skills of my dear little brother have always been this exceptional for 10 years. It really leaves one speechless, seeing my usually rebellious attitude. Lu Yibei finally lost his patience. Big brother, stop annoying Mom and give me back that card right now. You want this card? You're daydreaming, thanks. Looking at their petty and greedy faces, I was laughing bitterly inside. Today, I came here specifically to ruin your life, yours and your dear little mommy's. Just now, the third, Miss clearly saw with her own eyes that the card was in my hands. If I give it back to you now and the third, Miss asked me later where it went. What exactly am I supposed to tell her? Hearing that, Shangguan was left speechless for a long moment, forced to swallow her rage, forced to let me have the upper hand. She had no choice but to abruptly change the subject. Resuming her aggressive tone, she started screaming at me. The injury to Yibei's leg is entirely your fault. You heartless little bastard. How dare you hurt my darling son? I didn't even deign to open my eyes to look at her hideous face. I simply, nonchalantly tapped the man lying on the bed. Yibei, didn't you want to wiggle your way into the mid-mountain villa at all costs? Lu Yibei was trembling all over, consumed by anxiety. Since you said you'd help me, then why didn't the third miss keep me in the end? I shot him an icy glare. It's simply because the third miss hates you from the very bottom of her soul. Faced with that level of disgust, what do you expect an outsider like me to do about it? Do you really think that for a stupid, disgusting rat out of nowhere, I could force her to love you by twisting her neck? But no, Lu Yibei's eyes looked ready to pop out, visibly on the verge of exploding with rage. Seeing her darling son suffer such an humiliation, Shangguan started howling like a rabid dog. It doesn't matter. If Yibei is hurt, it's your fault. Get on your knees, right now, and kowtow to beg for forgiveness. She continued to curse at me with fury. Don't even hope to pin me to the ground? Just as her filthy paw was about to touch me, I did a face about and grabbed her wrist. I shoved her back violently, and she flew 5 meters before crashing to the floor. Seeing this, Lu Yibei dared to drag himself with his broken legs covered in thick bandages to attack me. But before he could even reach me, I firmly gripped his arm. On your knees, beg for forgiveness. Since you want to put on a show so badly, I'll give you what you're looking for. I leaned down slowly toward him. Lu Yibei, don't be in such a rush. The debts you guys have piled up, a single beating won't be enough to wipe the slate clean. I finally left that suffocating and heavy hospital room and walked out calmly as if nothing happened. Meng Yao was waiting for me next to the car, staring intensely at every passerby. I knew very well why. She was afraid I'd get into trouble all by myself in there, or that in the blink of an eye, I'd sneak away again. She had waited an eternity for me. It was only when she saw my silhouette walk through the main gates that her heart, until then squeezed by anxiety, could finally calm down. Deeply worried, she inspected me from head to toe with the utmost care. I quickly took her by the shoulders to reassure her. Relax, I don't have a single scratch. After all, the ones who really had a rough time must be the gang. We left back in the hospital room. Yama, let's go home quickly. Today, Meng Yao looked at me, her eyes full of incomprehension. She hesitated for a long time, long time. Yao today. I still managed to squeeze 1 million out of the Lu family. I flexed, pulling out the bank card. Meng Yao, seeing me stare at the money with stars in my eyes, stepped a bit closer. With a half-amused, half-curious smile, she asked, do you really love material things that much? I almost nodded out of reflex. After all, who would complain about being too rich? Obviously, as they say, the more the merrier. But thinking back, admitting it straight up lacked a bit of class. So I quickly pursed my lips, fully determined to come up with a slightly more poetic excuse. In fact, it's not that I'm greedy. Yeah, it's just that I simply want to offer a warm home to all these homeless little bills. I stared at her with the utmost seriousness. Meng Yao couldn't help but stifle a laugh. This girl really started to think seriously. Since Chen loves money so much, and I'm a millionaire, would Chen love me a little bit more? At the same time, does this prove that we're made for each other? No, without me noticing. The late afternoon had arrived. The twilight bathed the entire villa in a golden glow. Meng Yao pushed open the bedroom door, holding a VIP black card in her hand, a true symbol of power. I immediately spotted that little piece of dark plastic. It even gave me an old sense of déjà vu. Is this little treasure really for me? Seeing me react like this, Meng Yao turned bright red instantly. A bit panicked, she looked away and nodded. She came to sit on the edge of the bed, completely stiff. I rushed to her side and tightly held the young woman in my arms. What's gotten into you to be this adorable? Since we moved into this hillside villa, aside from the incident on the night of my rebirth, the two of us had never been this intimate. And throwing myself into her arms like this without warning, it completely threw Meng Yao off balance. She who is always so cold and distant usually. My third miss is truly very generous, giving me so much pocket money all at once. Besides being so gorgeous, with that dream body, I don't even have the words. She's exactly my type of woman, but I also felt, anyway, that my compliment sounded a bit strange. She tried to reassure herself internally. Yeah, Chen has always been so innocent and good. He surely wasn't trying to take advantage of her with his words, right? I shot a discreet glance at this completely embarrassed woman and was bursting with impatience. How does she manage to have so much self-control? In this life, don't tell me that even by going all out, I can't make her crack. If it had been the passionate woman from my previous life, she would have jumped on me a long time ago. No way. She'd act like a good girl, like now. Aside from that wild night right after my rebirth, lately, she's been on her best behavior every single day. No, not the slightest inappropriate gesture. I'm really starting to wonder if her personality didn't completely change. My right arm remained firmly wrapped around her shoulders. She tried to break free, to put a little space between us, but I suddenly tightened my embrace. Her pretty little dress slipped slightly under the sudden movement, the strap gently sliding down a short centimeter. In the silence, nothing could be heard but our slightly ragged breathing. Manhwa looks down at her slightly, rumpled clothes, then abruptly looks back up at me, her gaze full of desire. Her cheeks instantly turn red, her panicked eyes shifting crazily. I look at her flushed cheeks and her long, trembling eyelashes. My heart tightens, but she isn't the one tempting me. It's rather me who just can't help but move closer to her. The calmness and gentleness I was forcing myself to keep until now shatter into pieces. Don't run away. My voice is deep, husky with a force that admits no refusal. We are already sitting side by side on the edge of the bed. The distance between us minuscule. Right now our faces are almost touching, and the tension instantly peaks. She completely freezes up, her ears turning scarlet. Read her tense fingers gripping her dress. Both. Ashamed and panicked, she doesn't dare push me away. She leans back slightly to avoid me, but I gently hold the small of her back. Her heart races and so does mine. What is this long wait? This ambiguous vibe that makes you blush and your heart pound finally explodes at this exact moment. This long-awaited feeling is so exciting. It's as if every single cell in my body is screaming with joy. I gaze with fascination at Manhwa, so close to me, her cheeks slightly flushed. Her gaze is soft tinged with panic. I lower my head slightly and close in on her, little by little, ready to kiss her. But just 1 second, before our lips touch, Manhwa grabs the blanket in a panic and thrusts it between us. Her voice trembles, a bit embarrassed. Okay, HN, you should sleep. She pauses. I know you didn't mean to do that just now. I snap my eyes open. I am frustrated to the absolute highest degree. Who told her I didn't mean to? I clearly got close to her on purpose. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to seduce her. I stare at her, silhouette as she heads barefoot toward the bathroom, my gaze full of frustration and bitterness. After this failed Riz attempt, even though I had set the stage for so long, she shuts me down again. I feel like I'm gonna explode from frustration. Manhwa enters the bathroom and looks down, her cheeks burning a bit. Seeing her slightly rumpled dress, she gently personalizes a frown. It's just that HN got a little close to me, that's all, and my heart is racing like this. Faced with HN, I've never been able to resist. Even when he was distant with me in the past, I was already completely drawn to him. So, not to mention now when he's all eyes for me. Thinking back to what just happened, a smile forms despite herself on her red lips. When she gets out of the bathroom, she has recovered her usual cold and distant look. Barely has she slipped under the covers than I turn onto my side, throwing my arm out to hold her, tightly against me, my chest pressed against her back. My arm naturally wraps around her waist. Nowadays, I don't know, since when I got into the habit of falling asleep holding her in my arms. It's only when she's by my side that I finally feel at peace. Before, I never depended on anyone like this. But now, I just want to hold her in my arms and never let go. Manhwa's body at first stiffened up a bit, then gently relaxed, letting me hold her against me. She raised her hand to softly pat my arm, and murmured in a soft voice, yet full of unquestionable possessiveness, "Ah Chen, you better never think about leaving me." Thank you. One day, I was woken up by my phone ringing. I had received a text. "Ah Chen, I miss you so much. I want you." Signed Ran. I furrowed my brows. It was a message from that bitch. "Ah Chen, don't be afraid. I promise to get you out of there. Manhwa is a real monster. So you're going to manage to escape her. I'm sure of it." I let out a small mocking scoff. On the surface, this girl does everything to seduce me. But in reality, she's been sleeping with Lu Yibei for a hot minute. Man, how disgusting. "Hey, meet me at the airport tonight. I'll take you far away from that witch Manhwa." Reading the content of this last message, I immediately blocked that bitch on absolutely all my contacts. It's not yet time to settle scores with Ran the third. Miss doesn't completely trust me yet. If I went to see this girl now, it would make her angry, and I never want to disappoint Manhwa again. I dialed Manhwa's number. I wanted to hear her voice so badly. In the meeting room, a sudden ringing echoed, breaking the very serious mood of the moment. "Third miss, it's your phone," the assistant whispered cautiously. Manhwa was sitting in the center in the middle of a debrief and had entrusted her phone to her assistant. "Hang up." Today, Manhwa shot an annoyed glare at her assistant. "It's a call from Master Lin Chen." "Third miss, do you want to answer?" The assistant handed her the device. Manhwa took the phone, and my voice echoed on the other end of the line. "Yao Wao, are you busy right now?" No. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Not busy. So there's nobody else with you right now, right? I asked on purpose in a slightly deep voice. Hearing my smooth voice, Mung. Yao smiled, no, nobody, no. The shareholders around her thought, are we invisible or what? Hearing Meng Yao tell me she was alone, I felt much more at ease. I miss you so much right now. I'm gonna stop by the mall today to buy you a new dress, okay? The one from last night, I tore it right. No, hey, I'm buying you a brand new one today. I'll go get it for you in a bit. Meng Yao softly replied, the corners of her lips stretching into an almost imperceptible smile. A bit later, as I was leaving the mall with my bags of silhouette suddenly lunged toward me. Lin Chen, hey, I finally see you. Ran threw herself directly into my arms, but I shoved her back violently. Ran, stop clinging to me like that. I took a deep icy breath to successfully calm the disgust washing over me otherwise. I was really afraid of slaughtering this B-teach in public. Ran suddenly grew impatient. Look, Lin Chen, are you done with your tantrum? Yeah, while I'm still being nice, hurry up and come with me. I'm gonna help you escape Meng Yao. Huh, I furrowed my brows. Why would I want to escape Meng Yao? She's so perfect to me. It's by her side that I should stay forever. Ran snapped arrogantly, Lin Chen. Did you forget she locked you up or what? I'm the only one who truly loves you in this world. I shot her a disgusted look, as if I were looking at a literal piece of trash. Aren't you sleeping with my brother? By any chance, screw off then, you make me want to barf. You're really a filthy B-teach. Nothing happened between eBay and me. If you bring that up to me again, I'm really gonna get angry. Ran added. Stop acting like throwing a tantrum like a kid. It's already an incredible stroke of luck for you that I'm agreeing to stay with you. Take a part of the Mang family fortune, and let's buy plane tickets to leave tonight. Obviously, her true B-teach nature was starting to show. I clicked my tongue in contempt. Yeah, what to do? I want to go find him so badly. Do you not know that Meng Yao is a psychopath? No. She can snap at any moment and kill someone. If you stay with her, slap 5 finger marks instantly appeared on this batch's cheek. Huh. I raised a brow. Impossible. Lin Chen, don't be ungrateful here, Meng. Yao will end up killing you and there won't even be anyone to pick up your corpse. Next, Ran glared at me in rage. She didn't expect me to hit her at all. If you come with me right now, I'm still willing to keep you as my little lapdog. Otherwise, I'm dropping you and leaving you to be tortured to death by Meng Yao. Faced with this torrent of threats, I pretended to be submissive. Ran, I just wanted to test if your feelings for me were sincere. I know I was wrong. I looked at Ran with an icy stare. Some people are really in a hurry to die. There's just no holding them back. Since that's how it is, I'll grant her wish and dig her grave. Ran sniffed with contempt. I hate this type of man. I raised a brow with a detached air, not replying, feigning to have learned my lesson. And I got into the car with Ran. Hillside Villa. Today, Meng Yao had finished her work earlier than expected and had rushed back home. But upon arriving, she didn't find me. Mother Chen informed her. Young Master A. Chen went out this afternoon. Thinking I was still at the mall, Meng Yao sat on the couch to wait for me. 30 minutes passed, and I was still not back. Instead, a servant came to bring her an envelope. Who is this for? Meng Yao looked at the envelope in the servant's hand. A dark presentiment washed over her. Give it to me. Meng Yao took the envelope and pulled out the contents. The moment she saw it, her gaze froze. Her eyes became bloodshot. There were several photos inside. Ran was standing opposite and I was smiling at her. She saw that tramp again and he's even smiling at her. Yet he had sworn to me that he would never go see that beach Ran again. So it was all nothing but a lie. In the envelope, there were also screenshots of messages. The most striking one said, meet me at the airport tonight. I'll take you far away from Wancheng. Hey, we're gonna escape that monster Meng Yao. Ah, Chen ran away again. You're planning to run away again. No, A. Chen, why couldn't you lie to me just a bit longer? Why couldn't you lie to me for life? No, today Meng Yao crushed the photo she was holding into pieces. That scarlet glow in her eyes gave cold sweats all of a sudden. She spat out a violent splash of dark red blood. Go to the airport. Bring him back to me by force if you have to. On the other side. In the car, it was just Ran and me. Once the door was closed, she absolutely didn't realize just how dangerous the person sitting next to her actually was. Chen, you should have been this submissive way sooner. She didn't even have time to finish her sentence before I had already whipped my arm around to press a cold blade under her chin. Hey, Lin Chen, what are you doing? Let go of me. I gripped the weapon in my hand, pressing down just a tiny bit. The liquid karma beating on her skin was dazzling. And curiously, this sight made me feel even more euphoric. Be good. Don't scream, or you risk crossing over to the other world a lot faster. The soundproofing in this car is excellent. From the outside, nobody can see or hear what's going on in here. It's perfect for dealing with you in peace. Ran surely didn't expect what was about to happen to her. Then put this blade down right now. I promise I'll forget everything that happened. I let out a short icy chuckle. Forget everything that happened. Oh, really? I narrowed my eyes. Yet you used to say I was your sweet little angel. Hearing my completely unhinged voice, Ran finally understood that I wasn't joking at all. Her legs were shaking like leaves. No, I was wrong. No, I was truly wrong. I shouldn't have hung out with others. No, I shouldn't have hit on your little brother. I spat out my words, gritting my teeth. Your biggest mistake was daring to hurt the third miss. The next instant, a piercing shriek echoed. I watched her writhe in pain, looking completely nonchalant, with an almost insolent casualness. The pretty face of this vermin ruined forever. Finally a bit of peace. At the mid-mountain villa, the Hmong patriarch arrived in a total rush. He brought with him a dozen highly renowned doctors, followed closely by dozens of bodyguards. Master, you're finally here, the third miss. The third miss had another episode. Her state seems even more critical than last time. Upon seeing the Hmong patriarch, Butler Chang felt like he was seeing the Messiah. In person, the living room was completely trashed. The old master immediately took charge. Calm the third miss first. We absolutely must get her to take her medication. But nobody dared approach Meng Yao anymore. The situation was in a total deadlock. Meng Yao stared at the people in front of her. In her clouded mind, she no longer recognized who they were at all, letting all her rage explode. Meng Yao had completely lost her mind. If it keeps going like this, I'm really afraid she'll end up self-harming. Around her, everyone was desperately looking for a way to stop her. If the third miss had an episode this time, it's because of that ungrateful wretch. We need to bring that scumbag back as a matter of absolute urgency. I knew it all along that Lin Chen had no good intentions. In the span of a few days, he has already shown his true colors. The Hmong patriarch slammed his cane heavily on the floor. That Lin Chen again. That cursed boy is truly Yao Yao's. Bane, quick send more men. Bring him back even if you have to tie him up. But the old gentleman was so mad with rage that it took his breath away and he started coughing violently. The old Mr. Meng is Meng Yao's grandfather. He knew that a while back Meng Yao had brought me back from the outside. At first he had nothing against me. As long as Yao Yao was happy, he was fine with it. But since I was brought back here, in his eyes I've never been anything but trouble. Not only did I make a massive mess in the villa, but now I outright triggered Yao Yao's episode. His opinion of me gradually deteriorated. He repeatedly demanded that Meng Yao kick me out of the Meng family, but Meng Yao refused to listen to him and continued to treat me like a true treasure. While everyone was at a complete loss, Yama cried out mad with joy. The young master Lin Chen came back on his own. Barely stepping into the villa, I saw a whole crowd outside, and right in the middle, there was even the third Mrs. grandfather. I looked at everyone with perplexity. What exactly was going on here anyway? Gu Nian spotted me, her face displaying total contempt mixed with a hint of shock. I superbly ignored her and looked straight inside the villa. Where is she? Yawa, where is she? I just wanted to see the third miss as fast as possible. To give her this dress that I had bought, especially for her. I was so eager to see what this woman would look like in it. I had calculated my timing to return right on the dot. Usually, Yama gets back home right around this time. You run off with a tramp. Are you trying to make the third sister die of heartbreak or what? Well, rejoice, the third sister just had an episode. Are you happy now? An episode? No, I furrowed my brows. My heart heavily tightened. This is all your fault. Get out of the way. Let me go inside and see the third miss. Hold him back, Grandfather Meng slammed his cane on the floor, his face displaying an unyielding severity. Mr. Meng, I know you don't trust me. It's true that I made a lot of mistakes in the past, but let me go inside to try. It's my fault. I want to do something too, for the third miss. I begged with all my might. Old Mr. Meng looked at me coldly. I will never give you the chance to hurt Yao Yao again. His gaze was filled with absolute disappointment. I knew it. The state of Meng Yao's health really couldn't take any more shocks. In his eyes, it was out of the question to let me in. It would only do harm to Yao Yao. Faced with my begging expression, the old gentleman remained totally unmoved. He ordered in an icy tone, "Lock Lin Chen up. It's forbidden to release him until Yao is cured." More than a dozen bodyguards instantly surrounded me. I swept my gaze across the men around me. I knew perfectly well that with my stats, I could easily overpower them all without any problem. But this wasn't the time to fight. After all, the one standing before me was Meng Yao's grandfather. And besides, I wasn't even sure of myself. If I forced my way in now, would I really be able to stabilize the third Mrs. condition? Yeah, I was afraid it might produce the opposite result. That was how I got locked in a dark, completely airtight room. It was pitch black all around me. Not the slightest glint of light could filter through. You couldn't even see the tip of your fingers. If Grandfather Meng had locked me up here, it was first to make me reflect on myself and next to punish me. But what they didn't know was that I already knew this dark room like the back of my hand. Looking at this room plunged into darkness, I curiously felt like I was back on familiar ground from my past life. Meng Yao had already locked me in here before. At first I didn't understand. I always thought she was trying to train a disobedient pet. But later on, I finally understood. She was just afraid of losing control during her episodes and hurting me. At that moment, I heard the servants whispering outside. Finally, someone dares to put the young master, Lin Chen, in his place. It was about time he tasted that fear. putting the third miss in such a state of anger, and he still has the nerve to come back leaning in a corner. I furrowed my brows as I listened to their voices outside. In my past life, I had defied the third miss's grandfather, which had made the old master, Meng, so angry that he ended up in the hospital. In this life, I will never let that tragedy repeat itself, so I have no choice but to stay here obediently. Finally, night fell and the people outside lowered their guard. In the darkness, I stood up slowly, then a huge bam echoed. I outright kicked the door down with one shot. Butler Chang, who was dozing off while standing guard in front of the small dark room, was so startled by this crash that he collapsed to the floor. Narrowing his eyes, he fell face to face with me as I walked out of my prison. Butler Chang widened his eyes, completely dumbfounded, and then he started screaming for help. "Come quick! Young Master Lin Chen is running away again. Young Master Lin Chen has escaped." I walked down calmly, with disconcerting ease without the slightest effort. Butler Chang immediately called in the bodyguards to grab me. A dozen beefcakes surrounded me in the blink of an eye. "Look, young Master Lin Chen, I advise you to go back and obediently reflect on your mistakes. The third miss isn't here to protect you anymore. Now nobody can cover for you." I stood in the center of this circle in a nonchalant and relaxed posture. "Do you guys really think you're enough?" Barely had I finished my sentence, then I walked straight toward the villa. A few guards reached out their arms to grab me, but I sent them flying with a spin kick. Butler Chang froze right where he stood, completely in shock. Seeing this, the dozen bodyguards rushed at me. I leaned on the shoulder of one of them and propelled myself into the air. With swift and precise movements, I put them all on the mat in a flash. By the time they came to their senses, I had already disappeared without a trace. Inside the villa, I saw a new group of bodyguards rushing inside. The men injured by Meng Yao were being carried out, one after another. This woman was in a total murderous frenzy. She had even turned the blade of her knife against herself. She was starting to self-harm insanely. "Third sister, drop that knife." Old Master Meng, leaning on his cane, shouted in a trembling voice. "Yao, yao, yao, yao! Be good. I beg you, please don't hurt yourself." Without thinking further, I dashed inside. "Let me in. Let me try. Don't you dare hurt Yao Yao anymore." Old Master Meng tightly gripped his cane, his tone filled with absolute severity. "I won't do any harm to the third Miss, Old Master. Meng, please trust me. One more time." My face expressed absolute urgency. My heart was pounding wildly, my throat completely tight. Old Master Meng looked at me. "You can clearly see the state Yao is in right now. Even her bodyguards can't do anything about it. If you go in there, you're just running to a certain death." I replied with a determination of steel. "I'm not afraid of death. Just let me go inside and try. And if you fail, then I will die with her." Old Mr. Meng finally gave in. They agreed to let me in for a moment. In the huge room, Meng Yao's face was a deathly pale. Her gaze was terrifying. She was gripping her knife with all her might, glaring daggers at whoever dared enter. That look, it made my blood run cold. The sharp blade had already sliced into her palm, but she seemed to feel no pain. At this instant, she looked like a total lunatic, completely out of control. I advanced step by step from the door. As soon as I saw her, my eyes instantly filled with tears. Gunian stood outside and shook her head in disappointment. Chen must have been scared too. It's normal. Anybody facing the third miss in this state would be scared to death. Just at the moment when Gunian was about to order the bodyguards to get me out of there, to put me in safety, I gathered all my strength and ran at top speed toward Meng Yao. "Wait, this is the end, we're done for. The third miss has completely lost her mind. She's gonna kill Chen for sure." I threw myself onto Meng Yao to pin her to the ground, and I wrapped my arms this raving woman with all my might. "Give me that knife. Look at me. I'm right here." I stared at her intensely, trying to warm her up with my own body. Outside, all the bodyguards were left completely speechless. "Young Master Lin Chen, you've got to be kidding, right? We're all here, we risked our lives, and not a single one of us could pry that knife from the third miss's hands. Do you really think that with one simple little sentence, she's just gonna obey you blindly?" Everyone sneered, looking at me with total contempt. Yet Yao, who didn't recognize anyone just a second ago, listened to me submissively. She handed over the weapon she was holding. The crowd outside literally had huge question marks floating over their heads. I could feel that paranoid, sickly, and stubborn emotion deep in her eyes. But deep down inside, I knew that even if she lost her mind, she would never turn the blade against me. Old Master Meng watched the scene with furrowed brows. Could Chen really cure Yao Yao's illness these past few years? I've consulted the top specialists without ever finding a cure for this sickness. So the moment Meng Yao has an episode, the consequences are completely unpredictable. We can only calm her down with sedatives, and yet Chen simply took her in his arms, and against all expectations she quieted down. The doctors present couldn't believe their eyes, totally overwhelmed by the turn of events. They all seemed perplexed. Only Gunian showed no surprise at all, as if she had already known everything from the start. More than 10 minutes later, Meng Yao gently regained full consciousness. The moment she saw me in front of her, her eyes filled with tears. "Chen, are you gonna run away again?" "No, so you don't want me anymore. Are you gonna abandon me again? No matter what I do, you'll end up leaving me, won't you? Before you were only lying to me. All of it was just to flee far away from me, wasn't it? I sighed inwardly, a bit helpless. No, damn, is her mind still clouded or what? Who said I was gonna leave you? I reached out my arms to pull her close to me. With a third, Miss, this gorgeous and a figure this perfect, I will never let you go. For the rest of my life. Damn, she buried her face in my neck. Liar. Today you went to the airport with that botch. And what's more, you smiled at her. You even got into the same car as her. I placed a soft kiss on her forehead. She looked at me, not believing her eyes. I flashed a faint smile. That psycho is the one who came to harass me. I didn't smile at her at all. On the contrary, I taught her a good lesson today. Old Master Meng and a group of doctors walked in. The whole bedroom was topsy-turvy. There was barely even room to put one foot in front of the other. Suddenly, Meng Yao noticed the scratches on my wrist. Who hurt you? It seemed like she didn't remember yet that I had just saved her with my own blood. She stared at me, her heart tightening. The traces of blood on my wrist had already clotted. Without saying a word, she jumped right up. Then she snatched the first aid kit from Gu Nian's hands. She came back to me in a flash. With extreme care, she started applying the ointment. While treating me, she gently blew on the wound as if she were deathly afraid of hurting me. Gu Nian asked in a hesitant tone, "Third sister, you should really lie down on the bed instead. I'll take care of his injury. After all, you're still very weak right now." She really needed rest, but Meng Yao completely ignored her. Still focused on my injury? Personally, I thought it was just a scratch. There was really no reason to make a big deal out of it. But this woman, it looked like she wanted to empty the entire first aid kit on my arm. Once the bandage was done, she pouted and scolded me. "I forbid you from getting hurt again." I nodded with a smile. "Okay, I'll listen to Yao Yao." Seeing me so submissive, she looked even more worried. Is HN behaving so well? Just because he failed his escape and was brought back by force? Is he still lying to me? No. Once Meng Yao finished my bandage, Gu Nian could finally examine her. To her great surprise, Meng Yao was recovering much faster than usual. Could it really be thanks to that ungrateful wretch? The day was already drawing to a close. After the medical examination, everyone withdrew. I wanted to get up to walk a bit, but Meng Yao stopped me. "Yeah, HN, you're injured. No way you're getting out of bed." "Yeah." I looked down at my wrist. Then I evaluated my general condition. "I'm not disabled to the point of having to stay bedridden. If..." I pointed to the shopping bag in a corner. "Yeah, look, in that case, help me and bring me that bag, please." I pulled out the black dress and gave her a tender smile. "I bought it for you. With your card, by the way. Look today." Meng Yao took the garment, an indescribable joy shining in her eyes. It looked like she had finally understood that I had no intention of running away, and that I had really gone to buy her a dress. "Yao Yao, grant me your trust. One more time. I will stay by your side forever. I will never try to run away again." But Meng Yao didn't say a word, her eyes turning away slightly. I gently took her face between my hands. "I want to have children with you, as many as you want. But..." Meng Yao, who was icy just a moment ago, her cheeks suddenly took on a pretty rosy tint. "Ah, Chen, it's forbidden to lie to me." I knew she had taken every single one of my words literally. Seeing her expression, so cute and naive, I couldn't help but smile. I took her small face between my hands and I placed a kiss on her red lips. Then her pupils instantly dilated, betraying her disbelief. Seeing her pursed lips, I murmured, "So you believe me now?" You kissed me." Meng Yao stared at me with wide eyes like a child, reaching out a hand to ask for a piece of candy. I simply took her in my arms, and that night I slept like a baby. Upon my waking up, Meng Yao was still clinging tightly to my waist, sleeping peacefully. Perhaps it was my presence by her side that calmed her so well, or else my treatment was finally starting to take effect. Even though she had a violent episode the day before, it wasn't like before at all. She had no serious after effects. Once up, Meng Yao hurried to fetch the first aid kit to change my bandage. She even took the trouble to bring a warm towel to wipe my hands and face. When we went downstairs, the old gentleman, Meng Yao's grandfather, was already waiting for us down there for a good while. He was escorted by a whole team of medical specialists. "Quick examine Yao Yao," ordered Mr. Meng with a lot of anxiety. His doctors had all been trained, especially by the Meng family, to treat Meng Yao's episodes of rage. They respectfully pulled out their medical equipment. But after examining her, all the doctors displayed a perplexed look. "Third miss, you recovered very quickly from this episode. Mr. Lin's blood probably did the trick." The old gentleman, Meng, was overjoyed, no doubt, because he thought that they had finally found the way to cure Yao Yao's illness. Upon hearing the doctor's words, the face of Meng Yao displayed absolutely no surprise. I guess she already knew that my blood was a universal cure and that it could control her episodes. In fact, during our very first encounter, it was precisely because she had drunk my blood. The doctors on their end were getting more and more excited. "Third miss, I suggest we draw Mr. Lin's blood so that we can study it in the lab, or outright let him come to our lab. We will find a treatment for you, that's for sure." The icy glare of Meng Yao swept across the gathering of doctors present. Say that again and let's see. Third miss, I was saying that the doctors didn't even have time to finish their sentence before Meng Yao yelled, "Get the hell out of here, ah. If anyone dares to touch A Chen, I will kill them with my own hands." I knew very well that if she kept me by her side, it wasn't at all to treat her episodes of rage regarding a Chen. "You better not breathe a single word about him. Is that clear?" let out Meng Yao in a chilling voice to threaten the doctors. I was perfectly aware of it. If people on the outside learned that my blood could cure everything, God knows how many people would want to bleed me dry. The old gentleman, Meng, who stood aside watching the scene, understood well that Meng Yao was firmly resolved not to let me suffer the slightest harm. "Yao Yao, since you refuse to use the blood of the young master Lin Chen to treat you, then release him as soon as possible," he declared in a severe and implacable tone. I know that since my arrival at the mid-mountain villa, I hadn't stopped throwing tantrums and causing trouble. And worse still, I did nothing but trigger Yao Yao's episodes. In the eyes of the grandfather, rather than keeping me here, it was better to let me go. It would prevent Yao Yao from getting angry over me and falling ill. Impossible. Yama abruptly squeezed my hand. "Nobody will take him away from me?" Grandfather furrowed his brows and said to Yao Yao in a challenging tone, "This guy will bring you nothing but trouble." As for my behavior these past few months at the mid-mountain villa, the old man had surely already heard about it. He must have been dying for Meng Yao to throw me out on the spot. The old man declared in an impassive tone, "And besides, do you really think that the young master Lin Chen wants to stay by your side?" When Grandfather Meng evoked all the foolish things I had done in the past, I was so embarrassed that I didn't dare open my mouth anymore. But now I finally found the opportunity to speak. I want to, I repeated hastily. "I really want to, Grandfather." Meng furrowed his brows. This was clearly not the reaction he was expecting. "Lin Chen, you don't need to lie to me. Today, Meng Yao was wrong to hold you prisoner all this time. I'm going to ask her to let you go." I immediately sought to defend myself. Before I was an idiot, but now, I sincerely want to stay with Yao Yao. Even if it's to serve as a blood bag, I'm fine with it. In any case, my blood can treat her illness. I'm doing it of my own free will. Meng Yao stopped furrowing her brows. "Don't talk nonsense." Grandfather Meng, sitting on the sofa, took on a thoughtful look. It was only after a long moment that he spoke up again. "Young Master Lin can stay with the Meng family?" Hearing this response, I was completely overjoyed. The old man watched us from the sofa, his brows still furrowed. He was no doubt wondering if this was the right decision. I knew very well that Grandfather Meng acted this way because Yao had suffered so much in her childhood. He didn't want to upset her. He just wanted to see her happy. But the moment he laid eyes on me, the old man's expression became rather tense. He must have been thinking back to my recent nonsense, which no doubt gave him a headache, chuckling inwardly. At that moment, the old grandfather didn't suspect just how much he would adore his future grandson-in-law, to the point of loving him even more than his own granddaughter. Seeing that everything seemed in order, Grandfather Meng didn't ask any more questions. He left a few doctors on site and went back to his own villa. Politely, I walked him to the door. Inside the villa, the atmosphere remained a bit heavy. A doctor in a white coat was skillfully preparing the medication. Although Yao Yao's illness was under control, the doctors still recommended some medication to facilitate her recovery. "Third miss, please extend your arm," said Dr. Lai respectfully. I looked at Yao Yao. I saw her red lips purse tightly. She was staring intensely at the doctor in the white coat. "Can I take pills instead?" Watching the scene, I couldn't help but laugh internally. Who would have thought the formidable third miss, the biggest fortune in the country, is deathly afraid of shots? Dr. Li, holding the syringe, explained to her with a very embarrassed look, "This medication cannot be taken orally. It absolutely must be injected." He was shaking slightly while preparing everything. After all, this was about giving a shot to this prominent lady. The pressure he felt must have been massive. Yao paused, then abruptly looked away. "Take that away." The voice of Yao had it cooled down by a few degrees. "Third miss, for the sake of your health, it's better to use this medication. Take that away." She was clearly losing patience, a hint of annoyance piercing through her voice. Dr. Li stood frozen on the spot, thinking back to the instructions left by Old Master Meng upon his departure. He looked like he didn't know what to do anymore. "What's going on?" I asked, pushing open the door. I looked at the doctor, feigning misunderstanding. "What's happening?" Yama furrowed her brows without saying a word. The doctor kept his head down, not daring to breathe a word. He must have been thinking that he couldn't expose to the light of day the weakness of the third miss. Who would dare shout from the rooftops that the third miss is afraid of shots? My gaze fell upon the syringe in Dr. Li's hand. I understood everything in a fraction of a second, and the corners of my lips curved irresistibly into a smile. "Yao Wao, let me give you this shot, okay?" I approached, gently ruffled her hair, and dived into her gaze. Coaxed her in a very soft voice. Dr. Li, standing to the side, let out a small incredulous sniff The third miss was so afraid of shots, there was no way she would change her mind just over one word from this man. But in the next second, Yao Wao replied in a very small voice, Then under the dumbfounded gaze of Dr. Lee, she submissively extended her arm to me. Dr. Lee, give me the syringe. I took the equipment from the doctor's hands. As soon as my fingers closed around the syringe, Yao Wao's body tensed up and she flinched even though the hand I was holding in mine started to shake slightly. Sir, you're a total novice. Without professional training, I'm afraid you won't know how to do it, murmured Dr. Lee in a cautious tone by my side. I didn't answer him and sat down, right on the sofa. I cast an eye at this woman who was striving to appear calm. At this instant, she was staring out the window with all her might, clearly trying to divert her attention. A playful idea crossed my mind, and I deliberately scratched her arm. Yao Yao, you're scared, aren't you? It might sting a little bit in a moment. Grit your teeth, I added, while soaking a cotton swab in disinfectant. I gently applied it to her skin. Yao. Yao gave me a slightly pouting look, her eyes suddenly clouding over with a soft reproach. Seeing her reaction, I realized a bit late that my words could lead to confusion. Given the atmosphere, it felt more like we were right in the middle of a very intimate activity. I chose the right moment, and with a steady and precise gesture, I pushed the tip of the needle into her skin. Does it hurt? No. Yalma looked down at her arm without flinching. I couldn't help but laugh and wrapped an arm around her to pull her close to me. She took the opportunity to cuddle into my arms, murmuring in her cute little voice, "It hurts. I want HN to blow on it," cuddled. Against me, she looked so fresh and so pitiful, I had no other choice but to take her hand and blow gently on the shot mark. Is that better? I asked, looking up at her. The young woman paused for a moment. Blow a little bit more. Seeing her behavior so childish, I smiled helplessly. I blew gently on her arm to soothe her, and I teased her, "Are my nursing skills really that bad? It would be better if a real doctor came tomorrow." "No," Yao Yao immediately refused. "I don't want a doctor. I want you," she retorted. "Oh," I teased her again. "But didn't I hurt you just now?" "Weirdly, it doesn't hurt at all anymore, thanks." She looked at me with her pleading little eyes. "Ah, Chen, pamper me a little." That part made me burst out laughing. "I'm gonna pamper you. I'll pamper you all my life." Looking at her face, I suddenly leaned in to kiss her lips, a simple, grazing kiss, light as a feather before pulling back. Yama stayed frozen on the sofa, looking like she didn't realize at all what had just happened. Judging by her expression, it looked like she was still savoring the moment. But she quickly came to her senses and her tone became strangely serious. "Do you kiss a woman's lips with that much casualness?" I took on a completely perplexed look. What is this nonsense? I don't have the right to kiss her anymore. Since when has this woman become so cold? Not even a little kiss. Sitting on the sofa, Yao Yao let her gaze slide down to my lips and my neck. Then she turned her eyes away in silence. Seeing her deliberately ignore me, it made me even more annoyed. I take the initiative to kiss her, and she's the one blaming me for doing it. With her, there's no way I'm playing shy. What else? She doesn't want me to kiss her. Well, I'm gonna kiss her until she can't take it anymore. I abruptly pulled her into my arms to kiss her passionately. I hadn't even noticed the little smirk forming on her lips. It looked like her little scheme had worked like a charm. I held her tight against me when she murmured in a sensual voice in my ear, "Ah Chen, you're quite bold today." I looked at her with deep tenderness. "You're mine anyway, thanks." And with those words, I kissed her even harder. Third miss. Gunian's voice suddenly rang out. She had just walked through the door and stumbled right into this compromising scene. From her angle, she probably thought that I was forcing myself on the third miss, completely disregarding her consent. If only she knew that all of this was just a trick by this master manipulator. Lin Chen hands off the third miss. Hearing that voice, I jumped. Yama shot a dark glare at this cheeky little brat Gunian. Why does she always have to show up at the worst possible time? I'd better ship her straight to Africa. Sensing my obvious embarrassment, Yao Yao couldn't help but let a small, amused smile play on her red lips. Meanwhile, Gunian was throwing a fit. Third miss, get away from Lin Chen quickly. He forced a woman. It's a crime. He's a criminal. Yawa was visibly very annoyed. She shot her a murderous look. Today, Gunian could feel all the contempt she inspired in her, but she chose to royally ignore it. Lin Chen, don't make me use force. Gunian put on an air of a heroic vigilante ready to save the world. It was only then that Yao Yao left my arms to plant a majestic kick right on Gunian's butt. Just try raising a hand against A Chen and see what happens. You want me to chop you into pieces? Is that it? Gunian, who had just taken a kick, whined, "Third sister. I just wanted to scare him. How would I dare lay a hand on your beloved?" "Apologize," ordered Yao Yao in an icy tone. Gunian stiffened her neck. "I won't apologize." Wang Yao narrowed her eyes. "Do you want to go back to working at the hospital morgue?" "I'm sorry, brother-in-law. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I promise." Gunian had chickened out in a second in front of Yao Yao. She retreated like a total turtle. In fact, for all the times Gunian had insulted me in the past, I wasn't angry at all. After all, the old me fully deserved to be put in his place. And besides, I knew that she possessed an absolute loyalty toward Yao. Yao, in our past life, she had even lost her sight to save Yao Yao. Miss Gu, why don't you stay for dinner with us? I'll tell the kitchen to prepare a few extra dishes. I had taken the initiative to invite her to stay. Gu Nian met, my gaze a flash of confusion crossing her eyes. But it only took her a second to regain her composure. She immediately took on a defensive posture, ready to protect Yamo at any moment to keep me from hurting her. Third sister, I think there's something you need to know. After I left for the kitchen, Gunian began to whisper into the ear of Meng. Yao Dawen Jiangting, do you remember her? Yeah, that trash brother-in-law used to like before. Hearing the name Jiangting, Meng Yao furrowed her brows. She was disfigured. She's desperately seeking medical treatment everywhere. Gunian, I discovered this matter completely by chance. I heard it was revenge. No, she has absolutely no chance of recovering from it. Do you think it could be brother-in-law's doing? No? Gunian glanced in my direction, and it was only after making sure that I couldn't hear her that she dared to continue. You have no idea. No, the other day, brother-in-law kicked down the dungeon door with a single kick, insane strength. No, he sent a bodyguard flying 50 meters with just one blow, and he runs faster than a wild rabbit. The more she spoke, the more she exaggerated. She was just short of describing me as a mutant. Meng Yao listened to Gunian's words with an expression tinged with gravity. Third sister, don't you think that brother-in-law has changed massively lately? It's like he's a whole different person. Gunian was doubling down on her conspiracy theories. What's your point? Brother-in-law is no longer the Lin Chen from before. Maybe the family paid for a plastic surgeon so that another guy could take brother-in-law's appearance and maneuver you. She obviously couldn't connect the dots between the me of today and the insufferable scumbag I used to be. Gunian was so absorbed in her delusion that she hadn't noticed at all that I had already come out of the kitchen. Hearing the way she was describing me, it was getting more and more absurd. I couldn't help but curse internally to think I was wondering a moment ago if I should invite her to stay for dinner. Are you talking about me? Oh, brother-in-law. Oh, hi, brother-in-law. Yeah. I didn't say anything at all. I'm out of here by brother-in-law. Only Meng Yao and I were left in the living room. What happened to Jiang Ting? Was it you? Did you order it? Asked the young woman in a casual tone. I took care of it personally. And why do that? No particular reason. That bitch was annoying me. So I destroyed the face she was so proud of. Meng Yao stood up and walked step by step in my direction. Normally, anyone would freak out a little being exposed, but Chen, at this moment, didn't show the slightest trace of fear on his face. I saw the corner of her lips lift imperceptibly. It really looked like I had flattered her. Don't touch knives anymore in the future. If you need something, others will handle it for you. As for Gunian's claims, she didn't believe them for a single second. Chen is mine. Chen is my one and only love. I can clearly feel that Chen really likes who I've become. He smiles at me. He holds me in his arms and he even hits on me. At dinner time, the dishes presented before my eyes were, to my great surprise, all my favorites. Yet I had never spoken about my taste to Meng Yao, but at every meal, the table was always filled with dishes I adore. Looking at all this, I couldn't help but sigh internally. A third missed this wonderful. How could I have ignored her in the past? We were sitting face to face, but the table was so massive that we seemed miles away from each other. Seeing this distance, I couldn't help but furrow my brows. Butler Zhang, can you move my chair forward? Please. Huh. Butler Zhang muttered a sound. Young Master Lin Chen, do you want to move it back even further? I looked at the butler annoyed and decided to do it myself. I straight up slid a chair right next to Meng Yao before flashing a satisfied smile. Butler Zhang, panicked, cried out, Young Master Lin Chen III, Miss isn't used to anyone sitting this close to her during meals. I replied to him in a casual tone. Well, she'll get used to it. When Meng Yao arrived in the dining room, I was already settled in my chair. Meng Yao shot me a glance, then went to sit in the seat, the furthest away from me. The servants nearby broke out into a cold sweat. Butler Zhang flashed me a look that said, I told you she wouldn't like that. Look at that. Well played, third miss. We must not let young Master Lin achieve his goals so easily. I looked at Meng Yao and asked her, why are you sitting so far away? The next second, Butler Zhang was silently mocking me in his head. Meng Yao calmly put down her chopsticks. Before you forbade me from sitting so close to you. In the past, whenever she forced my chair closer, I would go on a hunger strike to protest. I categorically refused to sit with her. It was because she was afraid I'd starve that she never dared to force me again. Thinking back to my insufferable tantrums from back then, I turned my head away, riddled with guilt. Seeing me like this, the corner of Meng Yao's lips lifted slightly. I spoke up again with confidence that hid my embarrassment well. Come sit here now. We're miles away from each other to eat. How are we supposed to develop our feelings? Butler Zhang, standing on the side, was snickering internally. But to his great surprise, Meng Yao walked over to me, pulled out the chair next to mine, and sat down. Butler Zhang froze right on the spot. Meng Yao let out a little laugh. Chen, you're the one inviting me. Don't hope to make me leave in the future. I replied to coax her, nobody's leaving. Even if Yao Yao kicks me out, I'll stay. Meng Yao made a face that said, don't lie to me. I picked up my chopsticks and started to eat. She wouldn't stop serving me food. In no time at all, my bowl turned into a literal little mountain. Yao Yao, that's a bit much. Nanny Chen, standing on the side, was watching us with a big radiant smile. But you've barely eaten anything. Young Master Lin Chen needs to build up his strength. Nanny, Chen has always worked as a housemaid for the Meng family. I know that she's the one who best understands my place. In Yao Yao's heart, she always hoped that everything would go well between us. Seeing our relationship warm up, Nanny Chen started playing matchmaker with a lot of zeal. Next time, we'll need to prepare more dishes to perk you up. Young Master Lin Chen, look at how much weight you've lost. I wonder how much you must have suffered before in the Lu family. Listening to Nanny Chen's words, I silently recalled the image of myself beating people up with one hand. I didn't dare say a word. It's better not to say anything about all that to Nanny Chen for the moment. If she knew that I can send someone flying 5 meters with a single kick, it would probably scare her half to death. After the meal back in the bedroom, I sat on the bed, no doubt, because I had been overfed today. My stomach was completely bloated. Chen, do you not feel well? Meng Yao approached, knelt down, and placed her soft palm on my stomach. When are you finally going to get pregnant? Meng Yao's hand gesture froze. I leaned into her ear. Third miss, would you please give me a chance? Without waiting for her response, I kissed her passionately. No matter what happens tonight, the real business needs to start. The next day when I woke up, Meng Yao was snuggled in my arms, looking at me while blinking her big eyes. Yao Yao, you're awake. So you don't feel bad. Does it hurt anywhere? I felt like I had really gone a bit too hard last night to think I had roughhoused the third miss to that extent. Morning, I'm going to run you a bath. You'll feel better after washing up. Saying this, I was about to get out of bed, but Meng Yao caught me by the wrist. You sleep with me and then you run away, Morning. Are you a total jerk or what? Tell me how you plan on taking responsibility. This time, Meng Yao really looked like a mistreated little wife who came to settle scores with a scumbag, her voice full of reproach. And how do you want me to take responsibility? I asked, looking at the woman with adoration. Be my boyfriend, declared Meng Yao in a frank and direct tone. This was obviously premeditated. I froze. I didn't expect such a request at all. I noticed that Meng Yao's expression was tinged with a hint of nervousness, clearly fearing that I would refuse. I then smiled and said, okay. She looked at me with incredulity. Ah, Chen, you accept? You don't have the right to go back on your word. Me go back on my word? No way. The third miss is so beautiful. She has a dream body and she is so attentive. How could I go back on my word? Yao came to her senses and threw herself at me to hug me tightly. Truth be told, since the day she brought me back to the hilltop villa, I was already her husband. But starting to date only now isn't such a bad thing. The entire day she basked in the joy of seeing me accept to be her boyfriend, and of my own free will at that. When the assistant came to drop off some documents at the hilltop villa, she found Meng Yao with a completely blank expression. Has the third miss been exhausted by young master Lin Chen? Why does she look so spaced out? The assistant approached and tapped her shoulder. Third miss, are you all right? Meng Yao jumped, coming back to reality, and shot an annoyed look at the assistant. What are you doing here? Certain matters require the third miss's attention. She placed the documents on the desk. I'm staying home with Chen. Don't bother me with work. Meng Yao didn't even want to glance at those documents. The slightest contract represented tens or even hundreds of millions. For the third miss, it was indeed not important. The assistant gathered the papers and was about to leave, but Meng Yao looked at her back, called out to her, and asked, do you have a boyfriend? No. What do you mean you don't even have a boyfriend? Before becoming your assistant, I had a few relationships. Is there a problem, miss? The assistant was screaming internally. If you didn't impose such a superhuman workload on me every day, third miss, would my man have dumped me? Yeah. Meng Yao's eyes suddenly started to shine. So, that means you know how to hold on to a guy's heart. The corner of the assistant's lips twitched. She then began to give dating advice to Meng Yao, leaning against the doorframe, seeing her take notes with so much seriousness. I couldn't help but laugh softly. In my past life, she was the untouchable, the formidable third miss. Meng, even with her icy aura just to get close to me, she walked on eggshells. In this life, to keep me, she is awkwardly learning how to please me. The sincerity and the nervousness deep in her eyes touch me, far more than a million words of love. I approached and gently took her notebook out of her hands, and I leaned in to kiss her. No need to learn. No matter how you go about it, I'll love you always. The tips of Meng Yao's ears turned red and she wrapped her arms around my waist. She buried her face against my chest like a little kitten that had finally found its home. As I gently stroked her back, the regrets of my past life once again flooded my heart. I had been blinded by Lu Yibei and Zhang Ting. I had fled from her and hurt her time and time again. I had even threatened her with death, just so she would let me go, only to finally see her in a wheelchair watching over my grave. She had cried until she fainted, and that image of her looking so helpless still haunts me. She had been left disabled for life just to save me, and I only found out after my death. She had sacrificed everything to protect me, and I had trampled on her sincere love. I will never let anyone cause her the slightest harm again. Understanding the situation, the assistant slipped away. Only the two of us were left in the room. Mong Yao looked up at me, looking suddenly very serious. Chen, I don't want to lose you. Promise me you'll never leave me, okay? I squeezed her hand, brushing my fingertips against her incredibly soft skin. Never. In this life and the next, I will only watch over you. A short time later, Gunyan burst into the room like a literal tornado. As soon as she crossed the door, she started shouting, "Third sister, that bitch Zhang Ting is completely ruined." I raised an eyebrow, gesturing for her to continue. Gunyan had a delighted face. After being disfigured, she ran to every doctor. She spent all her money without finding a cure. So she tried to ask for help from the Lu family, except that the Lu family can't even save itself anymore. I had already calculated everything. Yeah, I had absolutely planned everything out. After being severely injured by my hand, Lu Yibei's wounds got infected repeatedly, leaving him crippled for life. He will never be able to stand up again. His mother, heartbroken for her son, begged everyone, but because of her past wickedness, nobody helped her. The business of the Lu family depended entirely on the Meng family. I ordered the Meng family to cut all ties with them. Their company went bankrupt overnight, crumbling under debt. The arrogant Lu family that used to look down on me finally got what they deserved today. They are at the rock bottom of the abyss, hounded day and night by their creditors. They don't even have enough to feed or clothe themselves anymore. That's what they owed me. It's also just retribution for the harm done to Meng Yao. Karma always strikes. As for Zhang Ting, that woman who in our past life sowed discord and tragically separated Meng Yao and me, she was left disfigured with her reputation in ruins. She no longer has any assets left to seduce men. She ended up on the streets, becoming a beggar whom everyone despises. Monsters always pay for their crimes, but Meng Yao and I can finally free ourselves definitively from all these misunderstandings. Meng Yao looked at me without the slightest trace of reproach in her eyes. There was only tenderness. Don't ever put yourself in danger again. If you need to do something, let me handle it. At first, Grandfather Meng was very suspicious of me. He thought I was a curse to his granddaughter. But seeing that thanks to me, the bipolar disorder of Meng Yao's was no longer showing up at all, and that she spent her days with a radiant smile. Getting better and better, he finally let it go. One day, Grandfather called me into his office and handed me the property deeds of the Meng family. Chen, I entrust Yao Yao to you. Everything else belongs to the two of you. I took the documents with solemnity and promised him, emphasizing every word. Grandfather, I will protect Yao at the risk of my life, and I will cherish her until my last breath. The days began to flow peacefully. Our villa on the hill was overflowing with warmth and sweetness. Meng Yao, following her assistant's advice, prepared surprises for me with an adorable clumsiness. She remembered all my preferences. When we go out, she always squeezes my hand tightly, and when I have nightmares, she gently pats my back to soothe me. We watch the sunrise together. In the early morning and in the evening, we snuggle against each other to admire the sunset. Hand in hand, we stroll through all the streets of Wanqing. Meanwhile, Gunyan on her end completely lowered her guard. She even became the biggest supporter of our couple. She often crashes the villa for dinner. Seeing us so in love, she teases us, saying we're too lovey-dovey, but her eyes sparkle with a sincere blessing. She keeps repeating, "Lin Chun, you've become completely gaga over your wife. You have nothing to do with the little prick from before." As for me, I hold Meng Yao close to me. Before I was blind, now I'm going to make up for lost time and give her all my tenderness. 6 months later, in the garden of our villa on the hill, under a starry sky and surrounded by roses, I asked Meng Yao for her hand in marriage. I got down on one knee and pulled out the ring I had designed myself. Yao, yeah, life is still long. I want to spend every year, every moment by your side for eternity. Yeah, Meng Yao, her face, bathed in tears, nodded vigorously. Yes, I do. Chen, I will always want to, yes. The wedding was both grandiose and intimate. Grandfather Meng was smiling from ear to ear, and Gunyan was running everywhere to manage the preparations. Everyone was giving us their best wishes. I looked at Meng Yao in her wedding dress. She was shockingly beautiful. Her eyes betrayed an immense happiness impossible to hide. And right then I knew that in this life, I had finally fixed all my mistakes, and that I had given her a perfect ending. After our wedding, Meng Yao was definitively freed from her bipolar disorder. I accompany her to manage the affairs of the Meng family, and we do charity work together to help those who, like us in the past, are plunged into distress. The Lu family has long since sunk into oblivion. In the silence of this night, I hold Meng Yao, who has fallen asleep in my arms, and I place a soft kiss on her forehead. The blood debts have been paid, and in this life, the woman I love is by my side forever. Life resumed its peaceful course. I was granted a second chance, and I came back to life, not for revenge, nor to chase after wealth, but solely to protect this woman who loved me at the risk of her life. For the rest of my days, Stormy days just like peaceful days. There is only you. You are my greatest treasure. We were finally able to find the peace we deserved for all the years to come, and we will never be separated again.